Hello all, welcome back to Financial Freedom and Odyssey.com. My name is Mark and I have another video. This time I'm going to look at how I would go about making a financial plan from scratch in 2025. Let's dive right in. All right, so getting started, let's take a quick look at the financial plan and how I go about it. So I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad many years ago, and in it they had a quote that always stuck with me. The rich pay themselves first and then they pay others second. So, with that in mind, I like mapping out what my income for the year is so I know how much I can pay myself before paying others, i.e., bills, second. And an easy way to do this is to map out what your income for the year is, and then so salary wise, and then times by your target savings rate. So in this article, I'm going to use 20%. And if I made $120,000 a year, I would need to save $24,000. So we're going to pretend that I'm early in my financial freedom journey and that I have plenty of RSP and TFSA space, more than enough. Don't have to worry about maximums. And let's say I also have an emergency fund built up already, so I am good to go there. I'm going to choose the dollar cost averaging approach, as I do in all my portfolio update videos, and I'm going to choose to contribute $1,000 to my TFSA and $1,000 to my RSP each month. So that's 2,000 times 12 months is 24,000, which is what we landed with up here. And maybe I'll do TFSA midway through the month and maybe RSP at the end of the month. Shout out to my portfolio update videos. So now that I have my financial plan in place, so save and invest 20% of my gross income, I need to create the budget and ensure that I can stick to this plan and achieve my target savings rate. All right, so when we're doing our target savings rate, we did that against our gross income, but that's not what we get to take home and use. Unfortunately, we have to pay the tax man. So if you need to do this, the simplest way to do that is to jump over to the CRA's calculator that they release an update every year called PDOC. So let's open that here. And you would come into here and you would hit, actually, let me expand that. You click salary and next. So you would pick the province that you reside in, how many times a year you get paid. I'm going to do 24 pay periods a year to make it simple. Let's see, so if I'm going to get paid, let's say I get paid 1st and 15th, let's go 15th, and 120,000, the old calculator up here. So you have 120,000 and divided by 24 pay periods is 5,000, and no other deductions. I don't have any special tax forms. It's the first paycheck of the, first pay period in the year, so I haven't done any contributions to CPP, EI, none of that. Very straightforward. I would land here. And that's what the screenshot is. So I'm going to go back here and take a look at it. So assuming you get paid twice a month and 0 deductions, as we did with the calculator, you'd have 5,000 pay per pay before taxes. And breaking it down, this is how it breaks down. This is how much you pay the tax man and CPP and EI. All right. And one thing I want to call out, and I don't want to dive too much into how taxes work, but at some point, if you make 120,000, you're going to reach both the EI and CPP maximum. And you will then start receiving a higher net pay. And if you go back, if you're not getting, almost $300 and almost $100 taken off your paycheck, that's how much more money you're going to get every month. But I like to plan as if that's not going to happen. So then once it does come around, you have more money. You can, beef up your rainy day fund. You can contribute more to one of your registered accounts. You can go on a trip, whatever. It's completely up to you. But that's just, extra cash or gravy, if you will. All right, back to the budget. So starting off, we have our paycheck. So we took the number from here, multiplied by 2, because we're going to get 2 paychecks in a year. We're deducting 1,000 for TFSA, 1,000 for RSP, and we're left just shy of 5,000. Now, the next important thing to do is to add the essentials into your budget. So these are things like food, rent, utilities, and I like the debate is if internet is a utility, but if it's not already quashed, in my mind, it's quashed. I don't know how you live without internet, although I know some people do. Some family members of mine do, actually. But that's besides the point. So we had this much from the last section. I looked up what the average rent in the GTA is, and this is the number that they gave me. Seems a little bit high, but hey, if you plan high and you pay less, even better. I have groceries set at $600. This is just kind of based on what my partner and I spend and then reducing it, because this budget is just if you are a single person. I have $100 set aside for personal care. So, this could be copay on a medication or copay on dental or, getting your hair cut, what have you. $75 for internet. I have $300 for student loans. $80 for electric, $75 for gas, transit pass. This assumes you don't have a vehicle. And then some rental insurance, because if you're renting, you should definitely have rental insurance. I have one friend who didn't, and unfortunately there's a large accident. And let me tell you, he'll be the first person to tell you that you must have rental insurance. So after all these deductions, this leaves us with about $950. And it's always nice to plan in a little bit of nice to haves. So starting with $950, I'm going to put in life insurance here. Some people argue whether life insurance makes sense, especially if you don't have any direct dependents or you don't own anything, like a house where, if you had life insurance, it would pay off the remainder of your mortgage, whether you go with the one on the mortgage or you go with something standalone. Personally, I'm started with one on the mortgage and now I have a standalone one. But I am not an insurance broker, so I'll leave that up to you. Putting in $75 for subscription services. Maybe you have Spotify or Apple Music, or one for music, maybe a couple for video watching. And then what I like to do is I like to add in an extra 5% rainy day fund, just kind of like saving a bit of cash. This will also help for any kind of one-off unexpected expenses. And that way you can kind of keep your emergency fund intact for if something major happens, or such as you lose your job. And just talked about, maybe you might want to do more than 5% of your rainy day fund. Completely up to you. Yeah. Let's look at the summary. And actually for this one, I think I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole chart. So putting everything into one large chart, we start with our take-home pay of just shy of 7,000. We do our remittances, we do our contributions, and we add in our essentials, and we add in our nice-to-haves, and the remainder we have is $475. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good starting point. This is what I did for a few years. My current financial plan / budgeting for the year is much more involved, but yeah, this extremely simple example I think can get you started. And I used it back when, as I said here, in the early years of my career, I was making significantly less than $120,000, and I was sharing a 2-bedroom apartment. So, maybe you can split that in half. Well, it wouldn't be right in half, but, this would probably increase less than you think for a 2-bedroom, and then you would divide by 2. All right, let's zoom in a little bit. So the one thing I would do is I would suggest making a spreadsheet tracking all your expenses for the entirety of 2025. And then what this will do is this will get a true picture, and it may even allow you to spot a few areas in which you can improve, or expenses that you had signed up for something and you don't even use that thing anymore. So nothing wrong with having the information, I always say. And I teased it earlier, but now that I'm married, we're paying off mortgage, we have joint expenses, we share a car, yada yada, our planning is a lot more complex. And as such, I'm going to reveal that next week and look at how my financial plan / budgeting has evolved over time. Hope to see you back here next week for another video. Cheers and bye for now.